Thoughts on reincarnation. Hello again. Thank you for being here with me once more. I hope you are very well today. I am Marie. This information can be seen as science fiction, or as the viewer sees best, and I post it for entertainment purposes only. Still, I take my information very seriously, and for whoever has eyes to see. This is a video about some of the ethics around reincarnation, or that have to do with it, but starting from the point of view and the assumption that it exists. On Earth, several cultures, mostly in the East, accept reincarnation as a fact, and as told and taught in their religions, but in the West it is basically expunged from religions, and as far as I know, the concept was accepted in Christianity, until some point in the Middle Ages where it was removed or edited out of the religious texts, during one of its countless amendments. And this is because countless peasants and low social level individuals were committing suicide on an unprecedented level to escape the brutality of the forced work and super high taxation coming from the overlords and from the Vatican itself. This means that it was removed from the religious texts for population control purposes, as religions are for precisely that, anyway. So the fact that Western religions do not accept reincarnation doesn't mean that it does not exist. It only means that they removed it to further exploit and terrorize the human population into more submission. Nowadays, on Earth there is countless anecdotal or circumstantial proof of reincarnation events, mostly coming from small children who accurately remember their immediate past life, including enough details of it to be verifiable by researchers. This proves to a quite strong level that there is something like reincarnation, simply because such a young child couldn't possibly remember all those details about a life and about people who did exist in the past, or that still are alive, especially when the child has had no contact with those other people. For people on Earth who have placed some effort in researching what information is available about reincarnation, and piecing it all together, their conclusion strongly favors its existence, due to the amount of circumstantial, and not so circumstantial evidence on it. On Earth, reincarnation is still somewhat hard to prove, at least to the parameters its science needs to consider something as verifiable or true, and this is also mostly because of the strong veil of forgetfulness that just about everyone has while incarnating there. All this makes most people believe that their consciousness and self-awareness is only the result of complex biochemical processes inside a biological brain, making most of the human population fall into a materialistic and deterministic way of understanding life, perhaps only resorting to faith, and the belief of an afterlife, mostly as institutionalized religions dictate, to alleviate, or be able to face the idea of the destruction and obliteration of the ego, at death. This leaves the belief in reincarnation and an afterlife only as a coping mechanism of the ego, and little more than wishful thinking, in the eyes and opinions of many researchers on Earth. But for advanced interstellar cultures, reincarnation is not something to be questioned, or even discussed as true or false. It is simply an obvious fact of life. This is because most of the population of those cultures remember at least one past life, as the veil of forgetfulness when incarnating there is not as strong as it is on Earth. This causes reincarnation to be taken as something obvious to them, and this reflects on their culture and science in a big way, as it causes it not to be so dogmatically materialistic, fully accepting that even the best version of their science has its limitations, as many things simply cannot be proven, yet are there as undeniable facts of life. This impacts their spirituality as well, as the goal of being alive is focused on learning, on experience, and on developing oneself spiritually and ethically, under the premise that what counts is who you are and what you do, your actions and the way you think, rather than how much wealth, and how many material objects you can accumulate in your lifetime. This is because, at least most of their population, if not all of it, is fully conscious that they will not take things and objects with them at death, but they will take all their new knowledge, values, and experiences. Therefore, who they were when alive, what they loved, what they did, and what actions they took, is what counts for all the members of those advanced interstellar cultures with a lesser degree of veil of forgetfulness. The reason why the veil of forgetfulness is so strong on Earth, reason accepted by many positive star races, is because of a simple disparity in frequency, because the existential vibration of life on Earth is so low that it has a lot of difficulty connecting with higher realms. Where living on Earth and in a biological body is being in a low frequency that is not compatible with the much higher one found in other higher astral existential realms, therefore, they cannot interact, or connect, perhaps only in a very light way, as a weak connection, and only through what the biological body allows, such as through the pineal gland. This, although my culture insists that it is each and every living cell in a body that connects to Source, being a vibrational match to it, and not only the central nervous system, or specifically the pineal gland. This frequency incompatibility also explains why dreams are often so hard to remember, although they are undeniably there, as experiences people are having in lighter existential planes, yet cannot always remember them whole, or only mostly fragmented, because of the very same vibrational incompatibility problem, leaving people on Earth to fall for materialistic existential explanations. The biological body is a filter, a suit, to focus the point of attention of a soul only within the vibrational and frequency range of the so-called material world, but when the biological body ceases to function, at death, then the soul can return to experience everything it has always been, only more expanded because of all the enriching experiences it had during its life. And this is when the ethical problems start to arise. As far as I have researched about this subject using information found on Earth, most psychics, some of whom I deeply respect, say that each life is planned before incarnating. This means that the soul knows beforehand what it will experience during its lifetime, it knows why it wants to experience all of that, and even has its exit planned, knowing how and when it is the time to pass on. It knows all this because it is making decisions based on a very expanded point of view, all while living in a vibrationally high existential realm, where space and time do not apply, and do not work as we know them in the material world. In higher existential realms, time becomes very specific to the consciousness that is generating and experiencing it, as well as space, because distance is also a perception and an illusion, only belonging to the material existential realms with low vibration. This also causes the illusion of distances and time as being something a part of our own consciousness, and not as the result of our own perception. This is where the biggest ethical problem starts, because the decision to reincarnate, and what the subject will live and experience during its entire lifetime, has been pre-planned and accepted by their higher self, but not by the subject living such an experience inside a biological body in a difficult low vibration place such as Earth, but not only. The problem is that from the point of view of the higher self, its version living inside that material body, and with limited access to information and memory, is itself the same person, with the same consciousness, so it feels it has the right to plan and to accept whatever experiences, hard or not, that it will have during its short and chaotic incarnation into a living biological body. But that version of the higher self that is living in the biological body is not the same person, because it does not have access to the expanded information and reasons why things happen in their lives. All souls are fragments of Source, being source itself, but with a limited range of perception, and it is that limited range of perception that defines a soul as such, because without it, it would simply be source. It is the range of perception, and the different points of attention within those limited ranges of perception, which define a soul and differentiate one from another. Therefore the person, the soul that is incarnated and experiencing its own existence through the lens of a biological body, is not the same one as its higher self who planned said incarnation and decided what its life plan would be. Therefore, and by our own logic and ethics, the higher self is highly abusive to its incarnated version, which has no idea why it has deserved so much suffering in his or her life, nor does it know what suffering awaits it for tomorrow, all while also thinking that they are only the result of bioelectrical processes generated by their body, therefore living in terror of death. Many spiritual people and psychics on Earth say that not wanting to reincarnate is understandable, as no one wants more suffering. According to them, we incarnated people have no choice, as it is our higher self who is in control of us, and what happens in our lives, all this while they also claim that incarnated souls also have some decision capacity on their own, especially while they are having their life review, shortly after dying. As they say, the decision to reincarnate only happens when the soul, who formerly was in a biological body, unites with its higher self. It is only from that point of higher awareness where the decision to reincarnate will take place, and under what circumstances. But as I explained above, a soul with that expanded awareness is not the same one, cannot be the same one experientially speaking, as the one inside a biological body. The higher self firmly perceives and believes its incarnated version is only more of itself and, therefore has all the right over it, but from the point of view of its incarnated version, not so, leaving the concept of a higher self to be only a vague and questionable spiritual idea. Therefore the higher self is being abusive and even cruel with its incarnated version, only using its suffering to further its spiritual advance. And the only way around this would be to become our own higher self, while incarnated, or at least strive to achieve that, therefore taking as much control over our lives as possible. As usual, the way to do this is to advance our perception and our knowledge about everything as much as possible, making the expansion of our consciousness be the top priority of our lives. We must all do our best to become proactive with our lives, and not fall into living with a deterministic, victim mentality. Take control over your life, no matter how hard that may be, or you will be back in the material world serving your higher self, again. It is all a matter of which side you are focusing on, the needs and wants of the higher self, or your immediate needs and wants, which always involve pure survival among them. You must reunite with your higher self while alive, or as much as possible, or you will have no control. Living in a deterministic way, in a victim mentality, is always the result of living in pure ignorance. This will be all for today. As always, thank you for watching my video, and for liking, sharing, and subscribing for more. And I hope to see you here next time. With much love, your friend, Mari Swaruu.